Welcome everyone to another performance clinic. Today it's called Welcome the Mainframe to the Software Intelligence Platform. With me, Schram, Sales Engineering Manager at Dynatrace, also located here in Austria. Hello again, Christian. Hope everything is
Hi,
well.
Andy. Yes, thanks.
We just learned that you have been working on that subject for the last 19 years, 6 years with Dynatrace. Before you have spent a couple of years with CompuWare, always focusing on the mainframe. So you're clearly a great resource to have today. And I just want to remind everyone who is online, please take the advantage of asking also questions to Christian. There's a question feature in GoToWebinar where you can put in your questions and I will moderate. In case you have questions later on, I'm pretty sure you can remember our names. You can reach out to us either via email. You can also go online to the Dynatrace discussion forum, so on the community answers.dynatrace.com. And there's a lot of other ways, obviously, to get in touch with us. The session will be recorded. It will be put up on university.dynatrace.com as well as on the YouTube channel. And having said that, Christian, I kind of started, I would say, my career after the mainframe. Even though in school, when I went to school, we touched the mainframe a little bit, but I'm clearly a novice compared to you. So therefore, take it away and tell us more about the mainframe and especially the exciting news that we have from a Dynatrace perspective.
Okay, yeah, thanks Andy for the kind words. Yeah, as the title already suggests, welcome mainframe to the software intelligence platform. We have recently introduced, actually it was 2 months ago, our mainframe support within Dynatrace. And yeah, Andy asked me, hey, can we do a performance clinic together? And of course, I didn't hesitate and take the opportunity to spread the message about our new mainframe support within Dynatrace. So let's start with the first slide. So I think that looks pretty familiar to you. So probably you also have these kind of technologies in your technology stack, like the newer cloud-based ones like OpenShift, AWS, Cloud Foundry, Azure, but also the classic technology stack where essentially the COS and mainframe piece still plays an important role. So many organizations still rely on services that are provided by the mainframe COS platform. And that's why we also decided to introduce mainframe support within our software intelligence platform. And today I would like to give you a short introduction, what it provides, what are the use cases, and also some background information about the mainframe market. So if you have a mainframe in your company, probably you know these facts that many large financial institutions, especially banks and insurance companies, but also retailers and manufacturers, car manufacturers like Chrysler, BMW and so on are also still relying on the mainframe. And therefore, it is really essential to also have visibility into that platform when you have business critical applications accessing the mainframe. So let's have a quick look about on our mainframe support. When we are talking about mainframe, we focus on IBM Z series mainframe. I know there are different mainframes out there as well, like AS400, I series, or Fujitsu Siemens, or BS2000, which are also mainframes per se, but our support focuses on the IBM Z series mainframe. On the mainframe itself, we have KICS and IMS support, as you see here, and we are very excited. Soon we also will have C Linux support. for Red Hat in first place, and a little bit later we will also support the SUSE platform. Concerning middlewares, it's always important how your distributed applications are accessing the mainframe, and there are many different flavors out there, like MQ is a very important one, or IIB, IBM Integration Bus, but also KIX Transaction Gateway is massive out there. And going into IMS, for instance, also MQ is very important, but also IMS Connect and IMS TM Resource Adapter. So these are all middlewares which we support out of the box. Unsupported low-level protocols can be customized via our SDK so that you have end-to-end visibility for such technology stacks as well. Concerning the deployment on the mainframe side, of course, I will not talk about today about deployment in the distributed world, where it is basically very easy installing one agent on a host, which detects the services that are running on that specific host, and also does infrastructure monitoring and also log monitoring and other functionalities. On the mainframe, it basically works the same with some exceptions. On the mainframe, you deploy modules as well, which are basically agents on the different underlying KIX and IMS regions. So you inject these little pieces of software there. And also, if you have CTG and IMS SOAP gateway in place, you inject a very lightweight Java agent into these tiers as well. Additionally, on each LPAR, you will deploy a started task, which is controlling a so-called clocal, which is receiving the data from the IMS and KIX modules and is sending it immediately over to the distributed world, where it is further processed on the C remote component, which then sends the data via an ActiveGate to the Dynatrace environment. So that basically works the same like with the one agent, which also sends data via an ActiveGate to the Dynatrace environment. And once you have the mainframe information there as well, our correlation engine will put the different pieces of the distributed transactions and the mainframe transactions together. So pretty straightforward implementation, yes?
So just one question that came in, and also for clarification, the ActiveGate, what you show on the right side here, the ActiveGate and C remote, is that installed on different boxes? How does this work? Where's the ActiveGate installed versus the C remote piece? This is something that came
yeah. The C remote piece is part of the ActiveGate installer since 167. And you typically install it on the same box. But of course, you later on, after the installation, you can point the C remote also to a different box if you like. So you have a lot of freedom there. But with the initial implementation, you deploy the C remote agent together with the ActiveGate installer on a dedicated box.
Perfect. And also as a reminder for folks that are online, if you have any questions, please use the question feature, just as Rob did. So just, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so that was it concerning the deployment. Of course, we also have documentation for that, which is everything, all the steps are described here. But should you be interested or keen on getting your hands on the mainframe agents, I would suggest to get in contact with your local Dynatrace representative or with myself, and we will be happy to assist you with the implementation. Although it's very straightforward from a technical point of view, you still need to consider certain things concerning where to put the serial mode and the active gates, and that needs to be considered, of course. So on that slide, only briefly, because I will show that in the live demo as well, we have our Scape topology. So once you have all the agents in place, we will be able to provide you that visibility, which services are basically calling into the mainframe. So here we can see that a distributed service is making a call into the mainframe via MQ, which goes to an IBM CICS region in effect, and on the back end it accesses the DB2 database to fetch some customer data, and then it puts a message back onto MQ and returns to the distributed world. Of course, not only MQ can be a middleware being used, but also CICS Transaction Gateway, or if you are accessing IMS, IMS Connect or IMS TM Resource Adapter, also MQ can be leveraged and will provide you that visibility as well. And all you see, yes.
Sorry, there's just a question coming in, and sorry that I interrupted, but it just fits perfectly.
No
the question is, what do I need to do in order to get this this visual here, the dependency map? What do I need to configure?
You do not need to configure anything. Once you have the agents up and running, these topologies created out of the box. So everything which I'm showing you today, also during the live demo, all comes out of the box. We have done no customization to create any dashboards or topologies. Everything comes automatically once you have the agents up and running.
Perfect. That's the cool thing, I believe, right? What we all know, that feeds was kind of one of the secret sauces of Dynatrace, knowing the live dependency map, which will later also explain why our Davis AI works so perfectly, because we know the dependencies and all the metrics on top of it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so that is basically, as Andy already pointed out, that this Scape topology is the basis for our AI, artificial intelligence, which is able to create problems when abnormal behavior occurs, and that of course applies also to the mainframe. So for instance, if you have some performance degradations in your CICS services, or if you have any failure rate increase, maybe in DB2, this will be picked up by the AI automatically, and you will see it before you get even notified by a customer or an end user. So you will see it immediately as a problem. Okay, so after the technical introduction, also I want to talk a little bit about the main use cases which are can be leveraged with the solution. So the first and very important one is actually that the mainframe agents together with the distributed agents will provide you end-to-end visibility. So you can identify which services and applications are calling the mainframe, and not only that, you will even be able to identify how often the mainframe is being triggered. So that means, and I've seen cases that one distributed service is not calling the mainframe only once and not only triggering one transaction, but multiple transactions. So I've seen cases with 80 plus transactions being triggered from one click in the browser. And that is really an eye-opener, which helps you basically to identify redundancies, or if you are distributed application tiers are really stressing the mainframe, and you can really identify if that is really necessary or not. And as we provide visibility which applications are calling the mainframe, we also see which mobile applications and also which cloud applications are triggering mainframe transactions, and that will give you the possibility to leverage IBM's mobile and cloud workload pricing to get a discount on that kind of workload. So there's this pricing already out for a couple of years, and some customers are leveraging that. And as we have that data, we can provide visibility which mobile and cloud applications are calling the mainframe. I will come to that a little bit later again when I will talk about what's next in the solution. As I have said, we recently introduced mainframe support in Dynatrace, but I have to mention here as well that these mainframe agents are already out on the market for already almost 7 years now. So they have been used in really huge production environments already with our 2nd gen solution called AppMon. And what we have done in the last couple of months is to integrate these already used mainframe agents into the Dynatrace platform. So it's nothing new. It has already, or it is already being used in heavy mainframe production environments. So it's nothing new that needs to be looked into. Okay, so 2nd use case, which mainframe requests are slow or expensive? So as we have the end-to-end visibility, we can clearly show you which mainframe requests are slow and where they are basically originating. So we will show you the impact on your distributed services and applications, and at the end of the chain on the end user experience if a mainframe service is slow. And on top of that, we will also give you metrics which will allow you to identify mainframe services which use a lot of CPU. So CPU hotspots, of course, are very important when dealing with mainframe applications, because every MSU you can save will result in significant savings concerning your monthly license charges to IBM. And last but not least, also quick fault domain isolation is possible if you have that end-to-end flow and visibility, and you can quickly determine if the mainframe is part of a problem or not. So these typically finger pointing and war room scenarios are not necessary anymore, as you can immediately say, well, I have a problem on the mainframe and my mainframe SMEs need to look into that specific problem. Or if it's not a mainframe specific problem, you do not need to bother your mainframe stuff with that problem anymore. So also here, before any one of your staff possibly picks up the problem, our AI will already notify you with a problem and show you what is the root cause, as it is doing a causation, and will also provide you the visual resolution path of a specific problem. I will have some screenshots later on, as we do not have any mainframe specific problems in our demo environment. It's really running smoothly there. So therefore I will give you an example from a real customer environment concerning a problem that has been picked up by our AI.
Awesome, and maybe as a reminder again, folks, if you, before Christian is jumping into the demo, leverage the opportunity that you have by using the question feature in GoToWebinar. Just put in your questions. There's like 2 or 3 that came in, but Christian will wait for them until later when I think it makes more sense. But just as a reminder, put the questions in. Just type them out and I will moderate.
Perfect. Thanks, Andy. So I've switched now to one of our Dynatrace environments here. And what I want to basically show you, so I will not talk about Dynatrace basics right now. So I will focus on the mainframe specific parts now. So let's start with a view that is not shown very often, the technologies view, which already gives you quite a good impression how many technology stacks are actually used here in that environment. So you see a lot of different technologies being used there. And here on the lower part, we have an IBM CICS region. So it's a process group which has been automatically detected by the mainframe agents. And if I drill down into that specific process group, I will see more details about that. It's called ET01. And if I drill into the details, I see on which host this process group is running. It's running on a mainframe LPAR, obviously, called S0W1 with a specific IP address. And it also provides a couple of services to the distributed applications. If I look into that, I see it's a CICS service that is provided here. It's basically a CICS region. Also some MQ queue listener is provided here, and that is basically making the connection from the distributed world into the mainframe, and also an interaction with a different CICS region is taking place here. As you see here in that infographic, we have possibility to show additional metrics, which we already do for the distributed technology stack. And in the first release of the mainframe agents, we do not provide infrastructure metrics yet, but that will be a topic that we're currently looking into, how to populate that data also into the Dynatrace platform. So watch out for that. That is something we're currently looking into. So we will provide infrastructure metrics on an LPAR level and most likely also on a CICS level. So if we look into that CICS service now, we see it's a CICS region called ET01. We again see the incoming service requests. It's basically that MQ queue listener, which reads a message from a queue and then triggers a mainframe transaction inside that CICS region. We have an outgoing service request, and also we are accessing a DB2 database. And when the mainframe transaction is ending, it writes a response back to MQ, which is then picked up on the distributed side again by the calling booking service. If we look at the requests, we see the response times of the requests in that specific CICS service. We see the failure rate and also the throughput. What will come in one of the next releases is we will also provide you the CPU metrics here. So you will have an additional tab here which will give you the CPU consumption of your CICS service requests. So we are already capturing that with the CICS and IMS agents. We just need to put it on that specific dashboard here. So that gives you visibility if you have any anomalies already concerning failure rate increases, response time degradations, or if the throughput has some anomalies. But what I want to show you is, and that is associated with the first use case that I was talking about. If you do a backtrace, you will get visibility which applications at the end of the chain and which distributed services are triggering mainframe requests. So here we see we come in via MQ, so it's the reverse call stack here which we provide here, and the request is coming in via MQ from this mainframe booking service on an Apache, and that is called from an Easy Travel customer front end, coming from an Easy Travel web server, and these requests are originating from two applications, which is an Easy Travel web application and an Easy Travel mobile application. And with a click, for instance, here on Easy Travel mobile, you will be able to identify which user actions actually trigger mainframe requests. So here, obviously, that book journey user action in the Easy Travel mobile application is hitting the mainframe. So you can, of course, look into that specific user action, which I will not do in detail. At the end here, you can do a waterfall analysis and see how the user the user experience was basically, and you can also drill into the pure path here. But what I want to do right now is to also show you not only that we have visibility into the user actions, but also that you can do a service flow from here, which gives you the end-to-end chain of that specific transaction call stack going into the web server, into the Easy Travel customer front end, calling the booking service, and at the end of the chain, putting a message on MQ with a credit card auth request, and that is then going via that MQ listener into Kix and DB2. And also, if you click on one of these items boxes, you will see also how many requests are going in there. So it should already be a little bit alarming if you see that from the distributed service you have 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30 mainframe requests coming in to the mainframe. And at the end, the DB2 database and the DB2 statements will be available as well.
That's pretty impressive, Christian, that we have this type of visibility fully out of the box, end to end, and being able to then draw conclusions about where your hotspots, where do calls come from, being able to correlate it back with the individual end user even. I mean, you showed an individual user click that then made eventually calls to the mainframe. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, fully agree to that. And let me emphasize once more, all you see here, there's nothing customized, no dashboards that have been created specifically for that demo. Once you have the agents in place, everything you see here comes out of the box. So probably you are now interested in the bottom layer. So what is actually the basis of all that visibility? And that is, of course, our pure path. So let's have a look at that as well to give you an impression how that basically looks like. So we have here that store booking service, which obviously makes mainframe calls. So it comes from that web server, triggers the store booking service. It does some distributed database statements, then puts a message on MQ, which triggers a mainframe transaction. And here, for today, the interesting part starts. So let's have a look at that specific transaction DTMD here. If we click on that, we get, of course, some more metadata, in which kicks it is running, on which LPAR, of course, in which process group, and also the transaction code, of course, but you see that in the pure path already. Also, which middleware is basically being used to call the mainframe. Here it is MQ, obviously. And also you see some more metadata, and also want to point out the task ID here for that kicks task. That allows you to get more information from your mainframe monitor that you have in use. So you can leverage additional information using that specific task ID there. Also the unit of work ID, and very important, we're also capturing the CPU consumption of the mainframe transactions. That's very important, and as I have said already initially, we capture the CPU time, and on the kick service level we will provide that CPU metrics as well. The highest granularity you will get on code level, so that gives you the full picture, which programs are being called, DTMD, which MQ services are called, which additional programs and transactions are triggered, like DTTDB2, and also the SQL statements that are being executed. And in addition to that, of course, the relevant metrics like the timings, how much time is actually spent in each of these nodes. So at the end of that transaction, it writes a message back to MQ, and then it returns basically to the distributed transaction again.
Hey Christian, because we just showed some access to the database, there's a couple of questions that came in, but one fits here. You show DB2 support. Is there also support for IMS? That was one of the questions that came in.
Yes, thanks for that question. We also support IMS DB, so any DL1 calls going into an IMS database will be visible here as well, no matter if they are coming from kicks or IMS. So that can be done vice versa. You can access IMS DB from kicks, but also from IMS transaction manager, and we will capture these database calls as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so if we go back to the summary, let me do the following and go to that kick service once again and highlight that kick service on the Scape view. So you see here, once I select that specific kick service, I will already be positioned in that quite complex Scape topology. And here I have that visibility again. That's basically the information I've already shown on the initial slide. The mainframe booking service triggering kicks transactions via MQ, and at the back end accessing DB2. And that, as already mentioned, is the foundation, the groundwork of our artificial intelligence. So we can leverage the artificial intelligence as we have all the dependencies also into the mainframe. So we can do a real causation and not only a timely correlation. So we can give you the actual root cause of a specific problem. And saying that, I will switch back to the slides to give you actually an example of such an AI-triggered problem. So as mentioned, once you have the mainframe agents feeding the data into the Dynatrace software intelligence platform, the AI can be fully leveraged. And here we have an example. Basically, it was a failure rate increase in DB2, which was automatically detected. On top of that, our AI already shows you the business impact and also the impacted users. So makes, of course, a big difference if you have thousands of affected service calls or if it's only 1 or 2 service calls which are affected. Also, the number of impacted user is of course crucial here. In that specific example, our prospect customer was not leveraging our digital experience management functionality, therefore they did not have the visibility into the impacted users. So if they have that in place, they will also immediately see how many users were actually impacted by that specific mainframe DB2 problem. And here, that is the representation of our visual resolution path, which basically gives you insight how that problem evolved over time. So it started somewhere here, and after 28 minutes, the failure rate went down to a normal level because maybe someone has triggered some actions and did something about that problem, and after 28 minutes that problem was closed automatically because the failure rate was acceptable again.
Christian, actually in this case there's a question come in, and maybe this is from somebody that hasn't explored Dynatrace in its full depth.
Yes.
When Dynatrace detects a problem, can we notify people? That's the question. Or do we need to look at the dashboards?
No, absolutely. You can leverage notifications here as well. There are different possibilities how to get notified. So the answer is yes. You can leverage the problems here in the Dynatrace platform, but you are always free to send any notifications, alerts somewhere else, or probably feed some information into another product.
So what we see a lot, integration with ServiceNow, either opening up tickets or even executing complete auto remediation workflows, sending notifications to Slack. There's many options that we have, going also into the way where we can just trigger a generic webhook, so you can really notify any type of tool out there in case there's a problem detected, and whether it's mainframe related or not mainframe related, it's the same thing.
Yeah. So thanks for the details, Andy. So yeah, that was one example for an AI detected mainframe problem. So what's basically next? As mentioned, we have introduced mainframe support in Dynatrace 2 months ago, and we already had a lot of requests out of the EAP concerning additional views and additional metrics and functionalities. So one very important one is, of course, infrastructure metrics, and that is something, as I mentioned, we are already looking into how to capture these informations and basically populate the existing infographics which are already there. So we just need to get the data somewhere in the most efficient way, of course, and put it into the specific spots in the Dynatrace platform. A very important or we are also very excited to be able to provide a one agent for Linux on set. So in August with 173, we will provide Red Hat support initially, and later on in 2019 also SUSE support will follow. And very important topic, and I've mentioned that already during the presentation, we will also look into possibilities to externalize the mobile and cloud workload pricing data. As you have seen, we have the full end-to-end visibility and the context from the applications back into the mainframe, and we're also capturing the CPU metrics, and that allows us basically to provide that kind of information. So we're currently looking into how to externalize the data and provide that data to our customers so that they can leverage mobile and cloud workload discounts from IBM. And on top of that, we have a couple of other topics that we already have on the radar. So with every installation, we get more and more requests and possible enhancements, and we are of course happy to look into that and watch out for more features to come in the upcoming months.
Hey Christian, as there are a couple of questions actually to some of the upcoming features.
Yes.
The first question I want to raise here is there compatibility with Microsoft HIS instead of CTG, or is it on the plan?
Microsoft HIS, as far as I know, it has different flavors and different components which it is leveraging. So that's something we need to look into in more detail, how it is actually connecting to the mainframe. I know there are different possibilities out there, and if it's something that is MQ based, there's of course a good chance to support that. So that's something I cannot say yes or no right now, so that's something we need to look into.
Yeah.
In more
What's the best way for, this question comes from Laurent, what's the best way for him to get in touch with us?
Yeah, let's connect and connect with the prospect or customer to get more information how they're actually using HIS.
Perfect. I will send him your email so he can reach out to you. Yeah.
Yes.
The next question that just came up is, are there any plans for support of ZOS USS for one agent, Unix on Z?
Yeah, okay. Yes, that's also something we are looking into, but I cannot say anything about the timing. So we are looking into that right now to see if we can provide support for that as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And also for other Java technologies running on the mainframe.
Okay. I mean, in general, a great way to get up to, get up to date on what's happening in the product team, and is just following the blog. There's a lot of updates on the blog about what's new, also what's coming, early access programs, and so on. So I can also encourage everyone. But I will also send Chase, is his name, to the email from you, so that he can reach out to you later on. There's one more question that fits here, kind of, well, maybe earlier or later, but coming to costs, what's the cost of, yeah, actually that's a good point. Let's turn on the video camera again, right? We have a pretty enough face to be on camera. The question is, what are the costs? How do you license? How does this work? Is it by MIPS, or how does this work?
Yeah, the licensing is MSU based, and the easiest way is, of course, if you provide to us IBM SCRT reports, so that we can figure out the actual MSU usage on your system, on the relevant LPARs, of course, and then we can look into the pricing. So yes, the answer is it is MSU based.
Cool. The next question is, what if you don't have access to the whole environment? What if you can only install agents on certain parts of the environment, but not everywhere to get full end-to-end visibility? How would this look like? That means, would we get, let's assume I have agents, let's say, in the distributed world, but not on the mainframe. Will we be able to see that there are calls in the mainframe, and can we detect some of these, strange call patterns? Is this an option?
Absolutely, yeah. That's a very important question. Actually, you can get a lot of visibility into mainframe calls already, especially if there are calls to the mainframe. Once you identify the methods that are doing the mainframe calls, and you can also get visibility about the round trip times and how much time is spent. In addition, we also have some special sensors already in the Java agent, like for CTG. We already provide visibility only with the Java agent, which CTG server is being called, which kicks transaction is being triggered, because that is already in the metadata of the CTG call on the distributed side. So you can get already a lot of visibility without the mainframe agents. But if you want to have full visibility, what happens inside the mainframe transactions, where are the hotspots, which components are taking a lot of time and are burning a lot of CPU, it is of course recommendable to also deploy the mainframe agents.
Yeah, and I guess this also goes true for the other way around, because I think the question was also phrased, what if we would only get, let's say, agents installed on some parts of the mainframe and on some parts of the distributed world, where there's a disconnect, you would at least always see the incoming calls and the outgoing calls, so you can always you always have the data to detect bad call patterns or know who is actually calling you, even if you may not have the chance to do full end-to-end. But yeah, there's obviously value for it. Right?
Absolutely, and that's of course also something that is leveraged in the real world actually, because often customers do not have full visibility how the application tiers are connected to each other. So once you deploy agents on the distributed and mainframe side, you might discover that there are still hosts where there is no agent yet, which still needs to be instrumented with one agent, and that's something that customers are using as well. So that's a typical scenario that happens once you start deploying the solution. It gives you visibility where you still have blind spots where you can additionally install one agent.
Cool. Also, folks that raised these questions, please let me know if this obviously answers your question, and if you have anything else, then let us know. I think, Christian, this is also a great moment in time to actually thank the product team and the engineers behind the scenes. I know that at least one of the product managers is actively listening in because he's making some interesting comments on the chat here. So thank you for the whole team.
Absolutely.
And he says finally we mentioned him by name. Yeah. So
Actually,
cool.
that's a very important point. Yeah, it was a great team effort in Linz, Gdansk, in Detroit. So lots of team members here that really made this happen. And yeah, the more exciting it is to have it GA now.
Exactly. Cool. Christian, is there anything else?
Yes, I think I also want to point out some blog posts. So if you're interested in further reading in the press release and in additional blog posts, feel free to click on these ones. And last but not least, I also want to point out our partnership with CPT, the tuning experts on the mainframe, which basically assess the performance of your mainframe and are able to reduce the MIPS and CPU consumption on the mainframe significantly. And yeah, if you're interested in that, just get in touch with me or check out their website, cptglobal.com. And saying that, I will hand over back to you, Andy.
Yeah, thanks. You. Just a couple of reminders at the end. First of all, the session is recorded and it's getting uploaded to Dynatrace University. Not only that, the slides will also be put up there, so in case you didn't get the links, in case you didn't take the screenshot, university.dynatrace.com, and then follow the trail to the webinars for Dynatrace. You will see it all there. You can see there's a lot of other things we're doing. We're presenting at meetups and user group, and there's a lot of more things out there. Also, a shout out to our colleague, Daniel Carr, who is doing his coffee breaks and power demos. Also great stuff there. And last but not least, no matter where you are in the world, there's a great chance, if you want to move over to the next slide, please, there's a good chance we are getting close to you, meaning we have our Perform events. There's the global conference in Vegas in January or February timeframe, but we also have the global, the regional events. Sorry for that. So Europe and APAC events are coming up. So please go to perform.dynatrace.com and check them out. And Christian, I'm not sure if you are supporting any of the Perform Go events. I would assume maybe in Europe.
Yes, that's something I'm supporting as well. Yes.
Perfect. So in case somebody of you wants to, meet Christian face to face and talk about the mainframe, then there's your chance. All right, Christian. I know years ago people said the mainframe is dead. Well, it's definitely not dead. I also hope that this is not going to be the last performance clinic we do on the mainframe, because there's more exciting stuff coming, and I want to invite you back anytime to make sure we are educating the folks about the mainframe.
Anytime. Thanks as well.
Bye-bye.
And goodbye.
Bye-bye. Enjoy the summer heat.